Terri Lyne Carrington is a drum major for women and non-binary individuals in the jazz ecosystem. Her determined tenacity to change the bandscape is catching fire, but for now it appears to be a smoldering fire in a country where jazz bands are lacking inclusivity. It requires more attention than it has gotten, but Terri Lyne, one of the most respected jazz musicians in the world, is driving hard to change the faces in jazz. Welcome to Strictly Jazz Sounds, your podcast for conversations about all things jazz. I'm Steve Braunginn. In this episode, three-time Grammy Award-winning drummer, bandleader, educator, producer, and activist Terri Lyne Carrington and I talk about some very serious and important topics affecting the people in the jazz ecosystem, from musicians to managers to A&R executives. A leader at the Boston-based famed Berklee College of Music, Terri Lyne is the artistic director of the Berklee Institute of Jazz and Gender Justice and a professor at Berklee. The Institute's logo is Jazz Without Patriarchy. That sets the tone for our discussion, taking us into various subtopics, revealing the challenges women and non-binary individuals face in this male-dominated music industry. While more effort is indeed being made to hire women in bands, so much more awareness of the problem must be made. And to that point, Terri Lyne asked me to make this pledge, to ask in my interviews about the gender problem in jazz and what steps people are willing to make to help to contribute to correcting the problem. I made the pledge. The conversation also leans into Terri Lyne's latest release, New Standards Volume 1. It's 11 compositions by women artists that arose from the book New Standards, 101 lead sheets by women composers. It was edited and curated by Terri Lyne Carrington and published by Berklee Press. The necessity was demanded, says Terri Lyne, because the real book, a compilation of compositions used by musicians, or formerly called the fake book, rarely had works written by women. Per usual, there are two tracks for your listening pleasure on this. These are from New Standards Volume 1, and it's on the CANDID label. Terri Lyne Carrington, of course, is on drums and percussion. Chris Davis is on piano, Linda Mahon O on bass, Nicholas Payton on trumpet, and Matthew Stevens on guitar. We're going to listen to Uplifted Hearts, written by Shamie Royston, and it features Ravi Coltrane on tenor sax, Val Genti on electronics, Elena Penderhughes on flute, Nega Santos on percussion, Shadrach upon spoken word, and Throw It Away by the great Abby Lincoln. And it features Somi and Melanie Charles on vocals and Nega Santos on percussion. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I will be taking a break due to medical reasons, but hey, I'll be back in 2024 with some fresh conversations. In the meantime, in between time, enjoy this wonderful and insightful discussion with Terri Lyne Carrington. She wears many hats. It gets a little confusing, so to make sure I had them right, I began our conversation with an introduction of herself to her. I got most of it right. Give it a listen. I am going to read to you a description of what I think you are doing and have done, and you help me out and let me know if it's accurate or not.
Okay.
So, Terri Lyne Carrington serves as founder and artistic director of the Berklee Institute of Jazz and Gender Justice Institute and the Carr Center in Detroit, Michigan. She served on the Board of Trustees for the Recording Academy, Board of Directors for International Society for Jazz Arrangers and Composers, and the Advisory Board for the History Makers and New Music USA. Her outstanding talents were recognized by the Recording Academy during the Grammys as an honoree for the prestigious Producers and Engineers Wing event. Terri Lyne Carrington also curated a New Standards live event to kick off Winterfest in New York. And she curated an event and presentation at both the Carr Center and Berklee College of Music. That was the Jazz Standard. And if that's not enough, she is a show on Sirius XM, Future Flavors. And somewhere in there, well, you play drums and perhaps other instruments. Then there's a children's book you recently published, Three of a Kind, the Alan Carrington Spalding Trio. What did I miss and what needs to be corrected?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say that you missed anything. There's probably more things, but I don't actually make a list because it makes me tired to look at a list. So, but yeah, I think everything sounded right. I think you said something the jazz standard. I'm not sure what uh, that was, but um, the book and the album are called New Standards, and
Oh, that's right. It's the new standard. Well, it should be. It's the new standards, volume one.
yeah, New Standards Volume One. Yep.
Congratulations, by the way, to the new standards exhibit that was just completed in Boston, and you did that run in Detroit.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun to see it up again in a different space, and because the space, a change in space makes you curate things a little differently, and it's just another artistic process and creative process to do things outside of obviously I do a lot of creative things within music, but it was great doing things creatively that are a little bit outside of what I normally do.
Yeah, that must have been quite an extensive event for you to pull together, and you did it in Detroit, and then you had to move it to Boston.
Yeah, and we're holding things in Boston right now, hoping to move it someplace else on the East Coast soon.
Oh, that's exciting. I was really disappointed that I didn't get an opportunity to see it in Detroit, which is probably the closest as I'm going to get to it, at least for right now.
Hmm.
And the album is phenomenal, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you will, though, talk about the Berklee College of Music and the Institute of Jazz and Gender Justice. And what is meant by the institute's logo, Jazz Without Patriarchy? But let first describe what you're doing at Berklee and how you've been doing it over and how long you've been doing it, because you are now, well, you are veteran.
Of course, the most established veterans still discover and still on a path of transformation within their own artistry. So I think it's okay to still feel funny in some ways about being called a veteran, because sometimes that implies that you've arrived someplace, and to me it's more about the journey than an arrival. But as far as the institute at Berklee, basically, jazz without patriarchy means what would the music sound like if it had been born in a culture without patriarchy and taught on a stage. I mean, it's taught in a classroom without bias and performed on a stage with radical inclusivity. And I think that's really what we're pointing to. We don't know because that hasn't happened, but we're trying to get people to think about those things. When, my question would be, what does that mean to you? Because I've been thinking about it, but it's really more about everybody's individual thoughts and actions toward a more inclusive jazz, which is needed because the music itself needs to have representation, of course, but it won't really fully develop until you have the input of women more equitably.
Whenever I see a jazz band perform someplace, or I look at an album that was just released, and I look over who's involved in this album, that seems to be the first thing that I look for. Is that a way to deal with jazz without patriarchy? Begin to look for that inclusion component.
Yeah, that's a step definitely in the right direction. Because if somebody's patronizing something, supporting something, whether it's buying a product or putting them on a radio show or writing about them. Yeah, you have to train yourself to look for what's not there, look for what's missing. And, ask yourself why we didn't notice before, because none of us really did. We just accepted that, without saying so, we accepted that jazz is men's music with a few exceptional women. And why didn't we question that? Because, I mean, do you have to? I mean, it's not sports, right? It's not football. So, why do you have to be a certain gender to play it? And that's all that we've seen. So, technically, if I were to look at all the jazz that my father had in the house, or all the clubs he took me to, and all the musicians I saw and met and played with, nothing I saw said that I should be there. So I think that we have to ask ourselves those questions and see how we're contributing to these structures that are, systemically oppressive.
When you were in the clubs with your father, when you were part of the visitors coming to your house, did that ever strike you as there are no women?
No, it didn't.
And so this is something that we need to include, and I'm saying we, journalists,
Correct.
we need to include that in our conversation.
Absolutely.
But yet, the necessity demands that questions be asked.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think, when we look at race, you have to look at it the same way as race.
That's right.
We don't, we're kind of past that place of thinking about what offends somebody or not, because we're thinking about what's fair and what's equitable and what's justice, because we have been so oppressed for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the music, it's the same thing, but we're not dealing with race as much as we're dealing with gender. Definitely, there's still some racism involved in things that are oppressive in the music industry for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But in this particular case, in jazz, what we're talking about is justice for women. And I think, what you everybody finds their way to communicate this. I've had to, and I get along with everybody. I talk to my male colleagues about this, and I very politely and nicely examine what they're doing and ask them to examine what they're doing, and try to correct them when they say things that feel incorrect to me, because I don't think they want to be on the wrong side of things. I think sometimes it's just that people don't know, just like I didn't know. So I find a way to talk to them from an empathetic point of view, because I was in their shoes. And I think we all have to find a way for people to hear us when something is important. So even if it's as simple as right now, today, Stephen, I will challenge you in your interviews to ask all of your interviewees. Uh, you can even say, I was challenged by Terri Lyne Carrington to ask you um, about the gender problem in jazz, and what steps you might be willing to take to help contribute to correcting the problem. And if they say what problem, then you're in trouble.
I would be honored to
Oh,
do that.
thank you. And and then it takes the pressure off of you. So I have to do this challenge.
Oh, now that's just too easy for me. But it is something that, because of my activeness in the civil rights movement, I have asked so many other people, or I have informed so many other people, that I do not see people of color in whatever situation I'm talking about. When we're talking about walking into a meeting, I'll say a board meeting, how many people of color are on the board? How many people of color are in senior positions in the organization, be it corporate or nonprofit? So the same holds, as far as I'm concerned, with the bands, even who's your producer?
Well, the music.
Who are your
Exactly.
engineers? What's the music? What are you
Who are the
playing?
composers? Exactly. All of those. Yeah, and I mean that means there's many opportunities other than the easiest way for some reason for a lot of jazz musicians are their managers,
Oh, yeah.
and they have a lot of jazz musicians have women managers, and but here, the thing with that is even that model can be you know I don't know, jazz managers I think, or maybe all managers, but tend to take care of their artists. So I think it's much easier for a man to see a woman in that position because they're taking care of them. It's a nurturing position. They're used to women taking care of them. So my question is, other than managers and people that do services that are directly connected to stereotypical acts of femininity, like nurturing and those kinds of things. So I think we just have to look at how we're employing people and how who we're supporting on various levels.
Have you observed a change in band leaders recruiting and hiring women?
I have, definitely. I see a lot more effort. And I also, and that is something I guess that you didn't mention maybe in your intro. I'm artistic director for the Next Jazz Legacy program,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is which is a collaboration with New Music USA and our institute, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to put more women and non-binary musicians on stage, so that they have apprenticeships with band leaders that maybe they would not have met or had this opportunity to get with. We're also providing creative mentorships and business mentorships. So I think that's very important. This move to putting more women on stage, and sometimes, and that's what this program is doing, is just kind of kickstarting. What we're hoping, of course, is that the people continue to do that after the year program is over. And I see it happening. People, people doing it on their own accord as well. And I think there's some movement in that direction, which is great.
One of your musicians that you had included in the first group, Alexis Lambra, I met in Madison when I lived in Madison and spent some time with her. And she performed in Madison at the at Cafe Coda. And she was still in school at the time. And she talked so much about a vision of moving out and moving up, but was uncertain on how to do that. How do you help these students do that?
Well, I think just being there for them, like Alexis, she texts me every so often just to say hi, let me know what she's doing, ask advice for about certain things. Um, and that's what you're doing. You're creating a community and a support network. And that's one big step in moving things in the right direction. If somebody's an emerging artist, of course, there's a lot they don't know yet. And I just think back about when I was at that stage in my career and what the things were that I needed and who helped me and how I got to where I am. And if I can shorten that journey, shorten those steps for anyone, uh, that's what I'm going to try to do. So that's why we have business mentorships and creative mentorships in place, as well as the onstage performance aspect. Because, as I said, our hope is that these relationships continue.
You had once remarked that you've observed a new academy that things are shifting with awareness. What changes have you seen that reflect a true direction, a change in the direction and awareness by the academy? There's been so much talk about what we see at the Grammys, but there's so much that happens even before that. What are you seeing?
Oh, that academy. I thought you were talking about the academy, like as
Well,
far as
I
scholarship.
apologize. I switched
no,
gears. I switched gears a little bit. I'm sorry.
no. It's okay. I'm involved with both academies.
Yes, you are.
um, uh, Yeah, as far as the changes that are happening at the Recording Academy, um, they're trying to be more inclusive to uh, what's happening now and today in music in general, which means you have to be more inclusive with Black creators in hip hop and R&B and anywhere, because we are the backbone and the foundation of the economy of music. So I think that's the first recognition that's been a big one that's moved the academy forward in uh, many ways, and it's also looking at your membership and realizing there's so many uh, white men over 40 as members, and how do we change that? And it's just been real acknowledgement through their DEI work to change the membership and really be more inclusive. So I think that that's been very helpful with moving the academy forward. Also, more recently, we've done a bit of an overhaul in the jazz awards, which has been great. We added a new award in jazz called Best Alternative Jazz Album, which is to focus on younger emerging artists, not necessarily younger because some of my records would fall in there, and I'm not necessarily young, but um, but just the music that is being created by younger generations, generally speaking, that merges jazz with other forms, jazz with hip hop, jazz with R&B, jazz with uh, rock and indie rock, and jazz with classical music, and um, just hybrid jazz forms.
Did that arrive out of the controversy or semi controversy with Robert Glasper winning his Grammy?
It didn't arrive out of that, but it did point to, like, we were already deep in those discussions before that happened. Um, but it did point to the issue in its own way. And there's another category, contemporary um, instrumental, and that that's a lot of smooth jazz artists go in that category, and they made that category outside of jazz on purpose, so that music with a certain kind of production value that's more to me like instrumental pop music. Um, so they had their own place, but what was happening is a lot of jazz musicians weren't finding a place in the five jazz existing categories, so they were going over there. So by creating this new category, the Academy is able to maintain um, artists like Christian Scott that were going into that other category,
Oh, Christian Scott was doing that. Okay.
other field. Yeah, I mean, lots of different people. It was, yeah, lots of different artists were. So it's kind of like we want the jazz artists to come back to jazz, and there was no place that they felt uh, they had that was a home for them there. So this new category will be very helpful in that way, and leaves best jazz instrumental, um, lets that able to be focused, remain focused on music that's out of the tradition in a sense.
If I could ask you this question, this is something that you ask your students. It's about keeping a seeking spirit. Keeping it's about keeping a seeking spirit. What do you mean by that?
Keeping a seeking spirit. I mean, I think that's what we should do in life in general. So when most of the things I say in regard to music are things that really should apply to life, and I think that we have to stay curious if we want to keep expanding. Most musicians and artists want to keep expanding because most aren't satisfied with what they did yesterday. They're looking at what they're doing today and what they can do tomorrow. So by keeping a seeking spirit, you're looking for something different. You're looking for improvement in yourself and in the people around you and the society in general. And you're looking to hopefully contribute to that change for the better. I mean, at the end of the day, what is it that we want? Like, what is the purpose of our lives? What are we contributing to? We're either contributing to something good or something that's not good, or nothing at all. So we have to look at our own mission and purpose. And the only way I think to do that, and because society keeps growing and evolving, so the only way to do that is to keep growing and evolving yourself, and that's keeping a seeking spirit.
The uplifted heart stays lifted with faith greater than fear, forgotten and suffering, or perhaps the chosen ones, tuned into something deeper, remain resourceful and replenished, while keenly aware of the greatest attributes of the human spirit, survival being synonymous with joyful living. No one can remove the joy from the uplifted heart, and yet no one should have to be so resilient.
you have been focused in your life on a broad range of things, and we've talked about some of those. One of them is production work. You have been involved in it for so long, and I'm sure that this is something that you do with your students, that you help them understand how to do this. Describe how to get involved in production work.
Well, I mean, everything other than go in the studio and play the music. Because that's the best way to explain it. I mean,
Yeah, okay. Now somebody's going to ask, so what is that?
okay, well, one, there's a lot of organizing to get in a studio or to perform and play music, right? So you don't just, show up. It's kind of like what is the pre-production? If there's, pre-production, on some level, there's always going to be pre-production. Even if it's a straight ahead jazz record date, then you have to arrange the music. You have to have the charts ready. You have to possibly rehearse ahead of time. So yeah, it involves uh, organizing the session ahead of time, making sure everybody has what they need to make a successful recording, and then being in there listening and making the judgment on what's good, what's not good, what's missing, what's needed, um, and being the director. It's like like directing a film. Most people can understand that, right? When you make a film, people didn't just show up in those places. There was all kinds of things that had to happen, and the director is the responsible person uh, for that and hiring all the other people needed. So that's what a producer is for an album. The person that has to get everybody on the same page. Uh, and that's like in the studio, but then there's a lot of work that happens afterward. Like I said, editing. There's a lot of editing, figuring out which takes are the best and how you combine the takes to make the track that you want. And then after the editing, there's the mixing process, and you're collaborating basically with engineers on getting the sound right, the mix right. uh, Nobody just hands it over to an engineer and says, "Do your thing, and I'll be good with that." There's a lot of collaboration involved. Um, and in old school terms, it's simple. It's like you bringing the producer is responsible for keeping the budget what it is, whatever that is, and delivering the album on time.
Dee Dee Bridgewater, she says that she owns all of her albums, she owns all of the masters, and she wanted to have her own recording company. And I see many other musicians doing the same thing. But you haven't. You've done a lot of production work and you've done a lot of composing. You've recorded a number of albums, but you've done a whole lot with other folks. But the one thing that I see that's not quite there is you don't have your own recording company. Why is that?
You don't need your own recording company to own your masters. So I do own my masters, but I license them because I don't want to do all the work that a recording company does. So I let them technically, own it for a short period of time, and then the ownership reverts back to me. So that at the end of the day, my legacy and my work is protected and my family benefits from it opposed to a third party. So it's just a matter of where you want to spend your energy. I definitely don't want to own a label because right now, the other thing that you don't know that you didn't mention because not a lot of people don't know it is I'm doing A&R for a label, for the CANDID label, and I work with one of the most knowledgeable people in the music industry. His name is John Burke, and he used to be the president of Concord Records and very responsible for their success. So he and his partner, who was the CEO of Concord, they stepped away and started their own label group with some other people. And one of the labels they bought is called CANDID Records, which you probably know from all of its old records. So they're doing a lot of reissues, but they're also putting out new Records. So my last album, New Standards, is on Candid, and we have some other cool emerging artists coming out. Morgan Guerin, uh, Zacchaeus Paul, and people that we're signing. So that's something I always wanted to do. It was on my bucket list, and I kind of one day just removed it from my bucket list. I thought, well, I don't think I'll ever do A&R. Never really fell into place. And as soon as I did that, I get a phone call from John. You know, you say, "You ever think about doing A&R? We would love to have you." Because I see what a label does, I know even more so that I don't want my own label in that regard, unless it was a totally different structure. I'm not saying I wouldn't be a partner with a label, but I'm not trying to be responsible for all of the things that have to happen.
Yeah.
Because when it's done right, there's a nice team of people that are all coming together at one moment to make a release as best as big as it can be.
I didn't put it on my list because I was going to get to it in just a few minutes.
Oh, okay. So you did know that.
I did know that. I was just trying to hide it, but no, it's great. When I saw that, I actually got pretty excited because of what it means, and it really does mean that you get to put in all that you know. I mean, really, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really, I mean, it in a nutshell. I'm trying to put together, amalgamate all the things that I know, and how do I do that without, being incredibly scattered and just doing too many things. And some people might think, yeah, I'm doing too many things, but I see how all the things, all the experiences that I've had come together in, I don't know, most all the things I do. It comes together to to be an expansive career, and even down to uh, doing A&R. That's related to the radio show. I mean, I'm always looking for new talent, and I'm searching the internet looking for uh, emerging artists, people that I feel deserve more exposure, and people I feel that are doing progressive things within jazz.
And we're talking about the Sirius XM Future Flavors show.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a great show, by the way. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
It does help me because I have to admit, I confess that sometimes my view of jazz gets a little bit more narrowed, and it does help me to expand that just a little bit. But with as I look at the landscape and what you're involved in now, do you see yourself more involved this way than in recording your own work or doing your own albums?
Do I see myself more involved with
In the
which
ba-
one?
in the this behind the scenes, doing the production work, doing the A&R work.
Uh, I guess I'm not sure what you mean. I don't. I produce a few other people sometimes, but I don't do a whole lot of production, so I'm more involved with. Well, I don't know. Like right now, I'm working on. Actually, I can't really talk about it now that I think
Don't talk about it,
about it.
but you're working on somebody else's
Yeah,
project.
so another project that's a compilation of a lot of different producers coming together that is blending these contemporary forms with jazz, and that's a pretty big project that I've been working on for a couple of years. That hopefully will be out next year. So yeah, so production is still there, and that's other people's stuff, but it's also mine because I'm the lead producer. So I see it as my own project as well. And of course, I'm continuing the things I've started. So social science will be going in the studio in the next couple of weeks to start a new album. Um,
Oh, great!
I think yeah, and
I had your first album. Thought it was Grammy material. Just to let you know.
oh, thank you. Well, we were nominated, but Chick Corea was
Yeah.
nominated too that year, so it was difficult to beat somebody that has won 27 Grammys, because it's kind of like he was uh, the go-to. So, but anyway, so yeah, we'll be working on a new record, and which will probably fall in this new category of best alternative jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I'm working all the time, and it all comes together. So whatever I'm doing in my project, it can affect some of these other projects, and vice versa. For me, it's all about finding these various ways to be creative, because as long as I'm being creative, I'm charged, I'm energized, I'm doing what I feel like I was put on earth to do, and that keeps me very satisfied.
Jazz Standards Volume 1 for,
New
I mean,
standards, new
jazz, new
standards.
standard. I keep messing that up. Volume 1, explain that project. Maybe you need to explain it to me. But explain that project for those who are not familiar with it. And the sheet music, let's talk a little bit about that after you talk about the album.
Okay, well, the album, you kind of have to talk about them together, because
Well, that's true. That's true.
yeah, the album is 11 songs from a book that I published, well, Berklee Press published, but that I edited, curated, called New Standards: 101 Lead Sheets by Women Composers. And that came about because we are playing these standards, and the real book was kind of one of the ways young musicians learn standards. And I realized there was very few compositions in there written by women, so I thought, why don't we make a book so that if somebody really does want to play some music composed by women, there's at least this resource for that. And when I did the book, I thought I wanted to do an album and start to record the music, because the only way a song becomes a standard is when people play the music and people record the music.
Mm-hmm.
So my original goal was to get all the songs recorded, but I just kicked it off, and now I'm hoping that other people follow through and do various versions. I may do another one down the road, but right now, as I said, I'm working on social science, but I am mentioning it to other artists to see if somebody else wants to do some music from this book, and also working on a second edition of the book.
to help her stand with a gentle kind of motion as it moves across the land, and the hands unclenched and open, gifts of life and love it brings. So keep your hand wide open if you need anything.
Possessing and belonging to, acknowledging a name.
So keep your hands wide open if you need a love today, 'cause you can never lose a thing if you throw it all away.
Every day, and keep your hands wide open, let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you.
When you were 11, what was it like to see yourself in Ebony magazine and to be referred to as genius material?
I'm not sure they use that term, but who knows? What was it like? It was, of course, I guess thrilling. I don't know what the word would be, but for me, I think everything was fun. You know, when I was 11, 12, I was just trying to have fun, you know, and playing music was fun and a passion, a hobby that became professional. So, I mean, I guess part of me was a little embarrassed. So if I went to school and people made a big deal about it, I was often embarrassed because I didn't want to stand out. But then on the other hand, it was nice to not only have the attention, but to feel supported and to know that I could do something good. I think most kids want to know that they're good at something or be encouraged.
Oh yeah, and the thing that 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds have to deal with, kids in general, um, is having to deal with other kids who are jealous or who want to put themselves above somebody else, and they tease them. Did that ever happen to you because of your popularity or your growing popularity?
Sure, it surely did. I was always trying to fit in and just kind of be one of the regular kids, but I did get teased sometimes. Um, I was also okay. It wasn't like I was bullied or anything really like that, but I do. I had my share of problematic encounters. I survived all of that, and because I could also go turn around from junior high on, I was going to Berklee once a week. So no matter what was happening at high school, there was a whole other community of college students that I was involved with and didn't have that problem.
Yeah, because you were all there for the same thing.
Exactly.
There are a couple of little known facts about you I'm just going to throw out. You not only enjoy ping pong or table tennis, you excel at it.
Well, it depends on who I'm playing.
Oh yeah, you get much of a chance to play anymore?
I don't actually get a chance to play very much, unfortunately, even though I have a table. But
Yeah, that's I used to play a lot when I was young.
okay, so if I run into you, we'll have to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it should be interesting since I now have Parkinson's. But and you are the mother of a son.
Yes,
May I ask how old he is?
17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like for you?
Well, it can be challenging at times, and right now, it's a bit of a challenge. He has a little health crisis at the moment, so but something that we're getting through, and he'll be fine. And at the end of the day, so that's part of life, though. We all have to deal with various challenges with ourselves, with our families, with our friends, and it makes us better. It makes us stronger, and um, to be victorious through the eyes of any challenge. I think it involves faith, and I do believe that the universe unfolds in most cases. The universe unfolds as it should.
And you have at least I know in the past, you have been involved in the Buddhist faith.
Yes, it's definitely the faith I turn to, but I guess I would be one of those people that believes in everything. I mean, except for the extreme things, but I feel like we're all here trying to make it through this existence, and every faith has similar ideas about what's good and what's not. What's good, what's bad, and we're going to have these different pathways uh, headed to the same thing, hopefully. It's all just philosophy on how to get through this existence. And yeah, there's some differences, but there's a lot in common. And I think it's the same thing with cultures and people. There's differences, but I think we mostly have things in common.
When I've looked at the many photos of you over time and the treasure trove of jazz luminaries that you've performed with, one seemed to stand out to me as one that you wanted to play with but hadn't yet, at least at the time. Did you ever get a chance to perform with Chick Corea? You talked about him. Did you ever get a chance to perform with him?
I did. I played with him once. It was just one song, but we were at a festival with Esperanza, and myself were the artists in residence for the Detroit Jazz Festival. It was, let's see, 2017. No, it was 2018, and he was on as well. And there was a time before the festival, I believe in June of that year, that we were all in town, doing press and promo for the festival, and we ended up playing together. We played all blues, and
Oh, that's
it
great.
was the best all blues ever for me.
I bet it was. I bet it was. How did that feel as you were going through this? I mean, can you take me through a little bit of your thinking?
Well, my thinking is, you're you're standing backstage trying to decide what to play, and he called, "How about all blues?" And my first thought, which is habitual for me, was like, "Oh wow, really?" I didn't say that out loud. I was like, "Wow, we can play something a little more interesting than all blues." Like I was just like, that's like calling "Now's the Time"
Yeah,
or
yeah.
C Jam Blues, and so that was my first thought, and then I quickly had to pivot to it's never the song. The song is just a vehicle. And I remember when I was in college, people were calling the same tunes over and over, and a song that I kind of got really tired of playing and didn't want to play anymore was "All the Things You Are." And then I
Mm-hmm.
moved to New York and did a gig with John Schofield, and he called "All the Things You Are." And I was like, "Oh wow, okay." And then I played it, and then I realized that it's never the song, and I would have to always keep an open mind. It's never the song. And so the same thing happened with Chick Corea and All Blues.
Oh man, what that's a good way to explain that. Thank you for that. I've never put it into that kind of context before. It's never the song. It's also, as you were talking earlier about the journey, the music that you're performing. What is what is that doing? What is it saying to you?
Well, it's a vehicle to just be creative, and if you're a creative person, you're going to be able to be creative no matter what the song is.
We're going to close out. What projects do you have in the works besides what you've talked about?
The Institute always has something happening, so I'm always, working in tandem with new ideas and things, projects there. We we service about 50 students, depending on every year, semesters are a little different depending on enrollment. And we have Chris Davis, Linda Mahan O, teaching ensembles, as well as Letticy, which a lot of people don't know. She's an artist in resident at Berklee in our institute. So it's wonderful to have Professor Letticy with us too.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great. If I could, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Chris Davis and Linda Mahan. You three are such a pinnacle part of what's going on right now. It is really, really exciting to see what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I am grateful that they are working with our students and that they're friends. They're both wonderful musicians, but they're also wonderful human beings. So I'm grateful for them and that our paths have crossed in this way.
And we are very grateful for having Terri Lyne Carrington with us. Well, as you heard, I was able to accurately describe most of what Terri Lyne does in her life right now. I did forget to mention that she was the youngest to join the Musicians Union in Boston at 10 years old. And if you ever get a chance to see her perform, do it. You will be delighted you did. Terri Lyne will be in the studio working with the social science band, as she said, educating and mentoring students at Berklee, touring and other projects that spell Titan, Titan. The best thing is, Terri Lyne is bent on changing the faces we all see on and behind the bandstand. So a big thanks to Terri Lyne Carrington for taking the time out of her enormously busy schedule to have this conversation with me. Thanks to CANDID Records for use of the 2 tracks from New Standards Volume 1 for this podcast. Theme music is by Johannes Wallman from McCoy, which can be found on his album Precarious Towers. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, among other streaming services. And when you subscribe, you will be one of the first to know that there is a new episode. Please encourage friends and colleagues to join and enjoy my podcast. I am taking a break for medical reasons. Strictly Jazz Sounds has had a great first year thanks to the wonderful guests I've had and all of you who have checked out this show. The podcast will return early in 2024 with more exciting and interesting guests. Meanwhile, support live jazz wherever you are. Thanks for listening to Strictly Jazz Sounds. This is Steve Braunginn.